US President Donald Trump has announced sweeping tariffs on goods imported into the United States from all countries.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple, can't get any simpler.
In 2018, the Trump administration imposed hefty tariffs on steel, aluminum, and imported vehicles. These tariffs were framed as a bold move to protect American jobs, revitalize domestic manufacturing, and bring production back to U.S. shores. But behind the rhetoric lay a stark reality. These tariffs quickly turned into a costly trade war that would disrupt industries, economies, and the lives of workers across the country. As the trade war escalated, General Motors found itself at the epicenter of an economic storm. By 2025, the company was facing an astonishing $5 billion loss, a financial blow that no one could have predicted when the tariffs were first introduced. Tariffs meant to protect American jobs had a devastating effect on GM's financial health. With rising production costs, GM was forced into a series of difficult decisions, laying off thousands of employees, closing down plants, and halting critical investments in key sectors. What started as a promise to protect American manufacturing quickly spiraled into a crisis that shook the very foundation of the company. GM's once thriving showrooms became ghost towns as consumers held off on making big purchases.
We don't make a deal with Canada. We're going to put a big tariff on cars, could be a 50 or 100%, because we don't want their cars.
About rising vehicle prices and the long-term impact of the tariffs. The ripple effects were felt throughout the entire auto industry, with smaller suppliers, local dealers, and even consumers all bearing the cost of the escalating trade war. Despite GM's efforts to adjust, the damage was done. The company had to make painful
Motors
cuts.
and Stellantis announced they would temporarily lay off workers for reasons that are unrelated to President Trump's tariff war. GM is laying off about 200 workers at its Factory Zero plant in Detroit, while Stellantis is pausing production at the Warren Truck Assembly plant, where about 1,000 workers will be off the job.
Thousands of jobs were slashed, and plants that once represented the pride of American manufacturing were closed for good. GM's financial decisions became a symbol of the deeper struggles facing the entire auto industry. Behind the headlines, there were real people, families, workers, communities who suddenly found themselves without jobs, without security.
She was basically about to retire, and they doing this, so it's crazy.
And with a new, harsh reality. The layoffs weren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They were fathers, mothers, and friends who had spent decades building American cars, only to see their livelihoods crumble. The cost of these tariffs was more than financial. It was a devastating blow to the workers, the suppliers, and the future of American auto manufacturing itself. As GM's losses piled up, the economic consequences began to spread far beyond the factory floors, affecting the entire U.S. economy. GM's troubles were just the beginning. As production costs skyrocketed, smaller suppliers and local businesses found themselves caught in the web of the trade war, forced to increase their prices or close their doors for good. What began as a political move to secure American jobs had set off a chain of events that no one had predicted. The auto industry, once the bedrock of American manufacturing, found itself in crisis, and the fallout would continue to reverberate for years to come. Crisis, asterisk, but behind these staggering financials are real people, workers from Detroit, Ohio, and beyond, people who spent their lives on the factory floor, building the cars that fueled America's economy. Now, they face a future filled with uncertainty. Families are struggling to make ends meet, their livelihoods vanishing in a single, unexpected blow. This is the human cost of a trade war that many never saw coming. These workers weren't just numbers on a balance sheet. They were the backbone of entire communities, men and women who worked long hours to build the American dream. Now, their dreams are slipping away, and they are left to navigate the unknown. This trade war didn't just affect their jobs. It shattered their sense of security, and with it, the heart of these towns. Essing her grief, while holding back tears, "I'm doing my best to stay strong, but some days, it's just too much." This isn't just about lost jobs. This is about lives turned upside down. It's about families who have always counted on a steady income, a steady job, and the American promise of prosperity. Now, they're left with uncertainty, struggling to pick up the pieces of a life that once felt secure. Another worker nodding. It's hard to feel like you matter when they just pulled the rug out from under you. And it's not just the workers. It's entire communities grappling with the loss. When a factory closes, it's not just a building that shuts down. It's a community's spirit, its pride, its economy, and its future. These towns relied on GM for more than just jobs. They were built around it. This is the true face of a trade war. It's not just about lost profits and political maneuvering. It's about the human toll. It's about families forced to confront an uncertain future, and communities fighting to hold on to what's left. And for many, the road ahead remains as uncertain as the war that brought them here. Asterisk, it wasn't just GM that suffered. The ripple effects were felt across the entire supply chain. Parts suppliers, smaller manufacturers, and local businesses connected to GM's production were all caught in the crossfire. As production ground to a halt, these companies were hit with rising costs and shrinking profits. For many of these smaller manufacturers and suppliers, the consequences were immediate and dire. As GM's production slowed, so too did the demand for parts. These once thriving factories that produced everything from wheels to exhaust systems were now faced with a cold reality: fewer orders, rising costs, and the threat of bankruptcy. The auto industry, which had long been the cornerstone of the American economy, took a massive hit. When giants like GM stumble, the tremors are felt far beyond the factory gates. Thousands of smaller businesses, from parts suppliers to local diners, were all dragged into the chaos. It's a painful reminder that when one part of the economy falters, the effects can cascade through entire communities. The economic ripple effects were profound. It wasn't just the workers at GM who felt the pain, it was the entire community. Local businesses that relied on GM's operations for their livelihoods were now struggling to survive. When the factory gates closed, they closed to end. As these businesses shut their doors, it became clear that the impact of the tariffs had reached far beyond the auto industry itself. The repercussions of this economic crisis extend far beyond plants. As the supply chain grinds to a halt, it leaves in its wake broken communities, struggling businesses, and families caught in the crossfire. The auto industry's fall wasn't just a corporate issue. It became a crisis that reverberated throughout the very fabric of American life. Asterisk, despite the setbacks, GM is fighting back. The company is investing billions in domestic production, pivoting toward electric vehicles, and embracing new technologies in a bid to stay competitive. In an effort to weather the storm, GM's strategy is to adapt. But the question remains: can the American auto industry rebuild after such a heavy blow? And can it recover fast enough to maintain its place in the global market? GM's push toward innovation is not just about keeping up, it's about leading. Their transition to electric vehicles marks a fundamental shift in how they do business. With billions being poured into research and development, GM is setting its sights on a future driven by cleaner, more sustainable technology. The question is, can this bold move help GM recover from the damages dealt by the trade war? GM isn't just about making cars anymore. It's about transforming into a leader in electric mobility, sustainability, and innovation. The company has also launched job retraining programs, equipping its workers with the skills they need to thrive in a rapidly changing industry. But with the competition increasing and the market shifting, GM faces the challenge of regaining consumer trust and ensuring that their bold new direction will pay off. GM's recovery plan goes beyond the factory floor. The company is betting on electric vehicles, cutting-edge technology, and a greener future. But the journey ahead is not without obstacles. Can GM overcome its past struggles and lead the auto industry into the future? GM's pivot to electric vehicles is a bold step into a new era of the auto industry. The road to recovery won't be easy, and the challenges are far from over. But GM's resilience, innovation, and commitment to sustainability could pave the way for a new chapter in American automotive history. The trade war sparked by President Trump is far from over, and the road ahead for General Motors, its workers, and the entire American auto industry remains uncertain. The $5 billion loss due to tariffs on imported steel, aluminum, and vehicles has led to plant shutdowns, massive job cuts, and a ripple effect felt throughout the U.S. economy. The impact of Trump's tariffs on American manufacturing jobs, supply chains, and auto industry profits is significant and ongoing, as GM invests billions to ramp up domestic production and transition toward electric vehicles. Questions loom. Will these efforts be enough to rebuild America's manufacturing strength and protect jobs? Or will continued trade tensions and tariffs keep stifling growth and innovation? We want to hear from you. What do you think are the best solutions to balance protecting American jobs while keeping the auto industry globally competitive? Should tariff policies be rethought, or is there another path forward? Share your thoughts below. Join the conversation, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay updated on the latest developments in this ongoing trade war and auto industry crisis. Together, we can navigate these challenging times and understand the future of American manufacturing. ****